The Omicron threat continues in India as well, and more than 89 countries across the world are impacted by this variant. But there are several questions that it has now led to, many of them being how efficacious are vaccines against it. And to talk more on that, we have with us Dr. Professor Sanjay Rai, who is also the lead investigator for trials on Covaxin at the AIIMS Delhi. So thank you so much for speaking with us. First of all, Omicron cases are growing. The government has now been given a proposal by the ENTAGI working group saying that children don't require to be vaccinated. How true is it at this point? Do you think the recommendation is correct in some sense?
Yeah, see, for any intervention, there should be a clear-cut objective. Like for COVID vaccination, the objective should be either to prevent disease or to prevent severity and death. In case of children, the severity is very low. There are a lot of publications also, so we have sufficient evidence that in children, overall severity and mortality is less than 2 per million. One article published in Nature few weeks ago, that in children the mortality is 2 per million. In adult, if you see the mortality in susceptible population, those who are neither vaccinated nor you're recovered from the COVID, the mortality is 1.5% above 45 year of age. That means out of 1 million, 15,000 are dying. Through vaccine, we are saving 80 to 90%. That means 13 to 40,000 people we are saving through vaccination in adult group. So it's a huge benefit of vaccination. If you do the risk and benefit analysis, the benefit is huge. Right. There are some adverse event following immunization and very rare adverse event like blood clotting, thromboembolism phenomena, or cardiac inflammatory disease like pericarditis, myocarditis. But these are very rare, 10 to 15 per million. So even suppose if these are the fatal and you are saving 13 to 14,000 life, it's a very cost effective and beneficial, a huge benefit. In case of children, here 15,000 are dying. Here only 2 are dying, right? Here if you do this risk and benefit analysis, the risk of COVID is low, but risk of this 10 vaccine associated risk would be more.
Children.
In children. So definitely to the best of my understanding and as per the available evidences, we cannot recommend children vaccination, at least in the country. There are few countries already started vaccination 4 or 5 months ago. Right. We have data. We can analyze the data before taking any final decision. So I support this. There is no need to vaccinate children less than 18 years of age.
So, since other countries, as you mentioned, have started vaccinating children, they are also not vaccinating children below 12 years of age. All vaccinations are happening above 12 years of age. So, how much time will it take to look at that data, perhaps? And
it's up to government. They can ask. It's not in the public domain, right? But you said that less than 12 years they are not vaccinating. No, there are few countries they have already started, including US. Okay. Right. So even less than 12 they have already started. They have approved and they have already started. Okay. But we have sufficient data. 4 or 5 months time is more than sufficient. So we can analyze that data. What happened after this vaccination program, overall mortality. So before starting any campaign or any intervention, we must say this is the severity in children. Through vaccination, we are going to reduce this much. Like in case of children, if it's 2 per million, so at least we are going to reduce to 1 per million. That should not happen that even after vaccination, suppose if deaths are increasing, then who will be accountable for that?
Okay, that's a very important point that you've mentioned. Along with this, sir, is there a need for boosters in India? Because the government has still not clarified the policy on booster, and we were looking at children's vaccinations also. But is booster required for Indians at this moment?
See, in our country, we have already inoculated more than 135 crore. It's a huge number if you compare with any country other than China. So almost 50% of this number, either US or any other country, they are not inoculated. Okay, our population size is huge also. Second, we have natural immunity also. So it's a hybrid immunity. Whatever evidence we have globally, we can say those who recovered from COVID, they are the best protected person on this earth, right? As of now. Plus, we have already inoculated. So we have this is called hybrid immunity. We don't have any evidence that a booster dose will increase your protection level. That will increase your antibodies level, definitely that will increase. So whenever you will come in contact with any virus, any antigen, or either vaccine or even virus, your antibodies level will shoot up. So that does not mean that you are best protected that time. So we don't have sufficient evidence that community immunity level is low. Otherwise, see, the total number of cases currently, it's less than 10,000 since almost last 1 month. It's more than 1 month now, less than 10,000. That is indicating that we have sufficient community level immunity.
So that explains hybrid immunity. Would you say people who have got natural infection from COVID and people who are vaccinated?
Yeah, hybrid immunity means those who recovered from the COVID, those who were unfortunate, they died, right? But those who recovered, they are the best protected person on this earth as of now. Plus, they have this vaccine also. In our country, mainly 2 vaccines, Covaxin and Covishield. So this is called hybrid immunity, natural immunity plus vaccine-induced immunity. So we both have. That's why I'm saying that we don't have any evidence that community level immunity is low. So if immunity is not low, so just for sake of giving this your booster dose, that can't be recommended.
So why then in countries where the Delta variant and before that the Alpha variant also, Gamma and Beta had surged, those people are again getting infected, some through reinfection and some through breakthrough infections as well?
So still data released by various countries like Public Health England, they released few data few months ago. Reinfection rates are still very low. Like out of 4 million, 40 lakh people, the confirmed reinfection were only 53. Plus, if they included probable cases also, so that were only 0.4. And they were not vaccinated. Majority of them were not vaccinated. And the severity after reinfection was almost negligible. So we don't have sufficient evidence that reinfection is happening at a very large level, and after reinfection, severity is also happening. So no, whatever evidence we have, we can say that reinfection rate is still very low, and after reinfection, severity and deaths are very low.
So what is the probability that Omicron variant and Delta variant fuse together and create another variant? There are some talks that are happening in the medical circle saying that there could be a new mutant if Delta and Omicron are infecting the same person.
See, this is a RNA virus, SARS-CoV-2 is a RNA virus, and all these mutations are bound to occur during replication. Some errors occur. So this will happen. Anything is possible. It's not 5 mutations occur or they are joining hand, the 2 variant are joining hand, and so even after all these mutations, the virulence could be low also and could be high also. So we don't know. It's very impossible to predict. Not only difficult, it's impossible to predict. So the main issue here is, suppose if a new variant is occurring, then what is the overall infectivity, what is the overall severity? So only time will say. We cannot predict that a new variant will be very severe or very virulent, or the infectivity will be high or low. Only time after judging or after monitoring that particular variant, we can predict anything.